All right, all good. There. All right, hello everyone. Welcome for the PCB workshop we're gonna be hosting today. Seems like it's full house, which is really nice. My name is Adam. I'm a workshop lead with IEEE.
I'm Darren. I'm one of the electrical leads around Lunabotics.
I'm Kevin. I'm also the electrical lead of Lunabotics as well.
And so we're just gonna kind of get started off the bat here. We're gonna ask a couple questions beforehand, like kind of just a show of hands right now. Who has Altium downloaded? That's pretty good. Who has the license and everything also kind of figured out? Cool, that's a good amount. All right, so today essentially we're just going to be going over the basics of how you start a project, how you start sourcing parts, and how you all start fitting that in. If you guys don't know what PCBs are and you're just here for your first time, that's okay too. We throw some PCBs on the table just if you're curious to kind of see what we're going to be doing. So it's just things like that. So those are ones that we did here at IEEE. And this is for another one we're doing for IEEE, and I would show you another one we're doing for a soldering workshop happening in 3 weeks. So just to kick it off, I'm going to go ahead and get back on the computer. And then if you guys can, I would like for you to follow along. If you don't have Altium downloaded and are just kind of here to observe, that's fine too. And then Kevin and Darian will be able to go around and kind of help you guys if you get lost or if you're a little bit behind or anything like that. So I'm going to be going real slow here, and Kevin and Darian should be able to walk around and assist you guys if you get behind. All right. So just real quick, show of hands, who is able to get onto the screen right now? All right. All right, no worries. Everyone that is on this screen, essentially, this is Altium. Altium is a software to create printed circuit boards. Printed circuit boards, like the ones that you have in front of you, are essentially just boards that you can make electrical connections on instead of wire. So you could think of the traces that we're going to be using as kind of your wires to create your projects. So first things first. When you go into Altium, you're going to right click. So in the top right corner, you'll see a little cloud right here. Right now, mine says CSU Long Beach. However, it's likely that most of you have to start your workspace or sign in. If you can, go ahead and click that right now. It only takes a minute to fill out the forms. And then if you're behind or still trying to get set up, Kevin and Darian can go around. If you just raise your hand, he can walk around and help you out. So I just got to give everyone a second to get their workspaces set up. It's simple as just kind of doing a quick login and answering a couple questions. In Altium, the workspace is going to be what you can use to do online projects. So for example, I can join this one, which is the electrical design for Lunabotics, and I can see all of their projects that they're doing inside of their workspace. So the workspace is key for sharing projects in Altium. If you have multiple people working on a project or need to see it, workspace is going to be how you can go ahead and look at other people's projects. I'm just going to go and log back into mine. I'm using yours as a reference for workspace. Yeah, it can take a minute to load, but honestly, as it's loading, we can always just go back to Altium to start a local file. There should be no problems with that. So when you get to Altium, on the left-hand side, you should see your projects. This will be empty if you don't have any projects here. However, as you add more projects, this is where they'll lie. So normally, once you have your workspace created, you can right click there and create a new project, but you can also go into File and do a new project. So you can go File, New, and Project. And then this is where you're gonna name it. So just for today, I'm just gonna call it you know, PCB workshop 1. And then if you see on the left-hand side here, it's gonna be creating this project and moving it over to the left. Okay, so here it is. And before anything, it's gonna say that there's no documents added. So when the no documents are added, you have to manually add in your documents. In this case, we want a schematic file and a PCB file. So if you go ahead and add new to project, right click and go to add new to project, you have schematic, and you can go ahead and click that, and you can see a schematic page is opened up. Next, you can right click it and also add new to project, a PCB. So, and this is where your PCB will lay when you do start playing and creating it. So before you create your PCB, you need to make a schematic, an electrical schematic that you can reference for your PCB. So an electrical schematic can kind of look like something like this, where you have a component, some passive resistors and capacitors, and these lines here represent wires or traces. So this is kind of like a basic electrical component, and we will be doing this exact component on Friday. So we're going to be completing this. But back to here, if you have an empty schematic, first thing you want to do is add your parts into it. However, personally, I really love using a specific library by someone on YouTube called Phil's Lab, which is a really good resource. In the Discord, I sent out 3 things. There's a Zoom link and footprint files. And we're going to go ahead and add these footprint files. And you're probably wondering, well, what are footprints? But footprints are going to be what your electrical schematic symbols look like. It's going to be what your model on your PCB is going to look like, and it's going to be what your 3D model is. So once you go to this link, you can go to code right here. I know GitHub is really annoying for trying to find downloads. But if you could go to code, you could just do download zip. And then once you have it downloaded, you can extract those. So still downloading. Taking a second. However, while that's downloading, I can go ahead and show you kind of what footprints are. So before you can place any components, you need to know what your component is. For example, this component right here, this is the schematic footprint. This is what it looks like on the schematic. Or this is the schematic footprint for this specific part. Or this is a schematic footprint for a capacitor. The same goes for all different components. You need to have a schematic footprint so you know how to interact and what it's going to look like on your schematic. Next, you have your PCB footprint. This is going to be what the actual footprint will look like on your PCB. So this is the 3D model footprint, and there's also this is your PCB footprint. So when you do get onto your printed circuit board, this is what the traces will look like on your printed circuit board, and this is the 3D model of that. So you need your schematic footprint so you can see what it looks like in your schematic while you're drawing everything. You need your PCB footprint to actually be able to put it on your printed circuit board. And then lastly, it's not necessary, but it's really nice to have a 3D model. So for example, these are all 3D models of parts on this board, but this would be their PCB footprint. And then the schematic footprints will look like this. So by now, hopefully you should be able to download that, have downloaded that. Again, if you just go to the GitHub page that I linked in the Discord and go to code and then download zip, you can get this specific Altium libraries. I'm going to go ahead and extract it so I can get it out of the zip file. And so now inside here, you'll see two things, a footprint library and a schematic library. The footprint will house the 3D and the PCB file, and this will have your schematic symbol. So let's go back to our empty page right here. So now that you have this kind of empty page, you want to add those files that we just downloaded. So to do that, you actually kind of need to add it twice, which is a little bit weird, but I'll go ahead and show you how to do that. If you right click and click Explore. So again, if you right click your project file, there's an Explore in the middle right there. And this will open up the file in which the PCB is there. So your PCB and your schematic sheet will eventually appear up in here. And so I'm going to go back to the file that we have right here, and I'm just going to copy those two files and go back to this and then paste them in here. So again, all I did is right click here, go to Explore, and this will open up the file in which your project is. And then I went to my downloads or wherever you housed the files that you got out, and I just copied these files and moved it into that folder. I just went back to get back to there.
Adam, we'll check to see how the budget.
Yeah. So I'll go ahead and wait here a second. If anyone's behind, just raise their hand, and Darian and Kevin could go around and help. Yeah. Kevin's right there. He's helping someone out. Oh, okay, gotcha. So you download? Right here. Yeah, so I hate GitHub. GitHub sucks. But anytime I'm trying to download something, it's a mess. You know? Yeah, you're fine. Thank you. What's up?
It's like, oh, like, I don't know. Yeah, down there, it's like, yeah, it's like, I know they. Usually they send you an email like this file, you know, it's just on the. Online. It expires. It's pretty sure it's fine. You go without the worst. The workspace is not made for. So if you go up to the top right. This will open up to where you can name whatever you want. And this one, I just call it. Don't give me that, please. Yeah, yes, so you download it after public creation. Okay, that's fine. So we right click on the top. And then create that. Yeah, I opened it. Oh, then you like click where it's check out that. I opened it. Oh, really? Yeah, there. Yeah. The way I was doing it is mainly space. There's gonna be two, you needed more space, but. Oh, yeah, nowhere. No, this was from the. No, that's. Like that, maybe. Register one. Like. Recommend to have it download. And it's the limit of. Oh, you paid for it. If you have any more questions, don't mind it. Yeah. Yeah, so.
So once you do
Or you can do it small. The regular.
So. Oh, you already added them in?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, and then the next step. We want to make that ahead.
Yeah, I know. Oh, wait, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. I posted it on. Are you on this? Oh, okay, this one. I can get that file. Yeah.
You know how to say my name, bro.
Did you unzip the sauce?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Honestly, you know, not, you can't drag them. Sometimes people don't have a workspace. That's really, I don't know why. All stars, thing, so you can just. Yeah. Oh, you. Sure. It's so bizarre. I don't know why I get like a bunch of. Sometimes for a couple people they're. Sorry, Mike just threw it out like.
What do you mean by that, Harrison?
I'll give that a second.
Who said I'm not? No.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I already have a space.
You already have what?
That's because I need to renew my license.
Oh, yeah, the license renewal kind of sucks.
That's my.
Yeah.
Give me two, dog. Don't you?
Yeah, no, I think it's so nice.
Don't fucking, don't tell me that you put your work out.
Yeah. Just the two. So, just go back.
For 2025.
Yeah, so you can open up there.
Is, this what's going on?
I just need to get my license, bro.
Yeah,
There you go, start going.
Alright.
Oh.
Yeah. Alright. Alright. I'm gonna go ahead and continue here. So hopefully you have been able to follow along thus far. If not, again, just raise your hand and Kevin and Darian will be able to help you out. However, the next step is if you right click this, you can also add existing to project. And then you can find those what's up, where's that? Is this the right? Altium PCB, yeah. So you can add these to the file and they will actually appear down here in your libraries. Because before we just moved it into the folder, but you actually need to show it. So if you right click here, add existing to project, and then find where you put your footprint and schematic libraries, and they'll actually appear in there. All right. Give you guys a second. And if you need to find where they're at, you can also just do explore. And then if you click explore, it brings you into this. And then you can always just copy the path So I can copy this path, and then when I go to add existing to project, I could just paste that path. And then I'm already here, but if you aren't there, you can just copy the path when you click explore. All right. So hopefully you're able to get those in. And now you can see that you have your footprint and schematic libraries in. You good? Is it working? Is it just taking?
Well, now, what would I have to?
No, this is.
Yeah, no, you're chilling. Yeah. All right. All right, so now that you have those new libraries that we added, I'm going to show you a couple different ways to place components in Altium. The first way I'm going to show you is going to be through the components. So if you look on the right side here, at the very bottom left, it says panels. Panels is where you're going to be able to grab components, look at the properties of things, change things around. Your panels is going to host a whole bunch of things. But right now, we're just going to be using the components part. So if you click in components, it's going to open up a components thing that kind of looks like this. It might just be on the side for you, but at the top, you can click this and you can see that we have a couple different things. And by now, you should be able to see the ones that we added, the Phil's Lab ones. If you don't, go ahead and raise your hand, and Kevin and Darian will go around helping people out. But so I'm going to go ahead and click that because I want to get a component out of this specific library. And then I want to place a resistor. So if I go ahead and just click res for, resistor, it's kind of shortened right here. And we have a whole bunch of different resistor sizes right here. And you might be looking at those and be like, okay, what's my 10K? What's my 1K? How do I pick which one? So they're going to be a little bit different in Altium. This is for surface mount components. This is all going to be components that are not through hole. So you might be familiar with components that you put in a breadboard. So those are kind of going to be through hole. These are surface mount. So if you look at the paper that we handed you, there's on that paper, you can see on the left side, the passive rectangulars. So if you look on that side, you can see those numbers there. It says, for example, 0201 is extremely small. Orpho 2 is a little bit bigger, and you get all the way up to 1206. And then this one actually goes even higher than that. So you could physically see how small these components are. So that is a 1-to-1 scale on that paper of the size components. That being said, it doesn't really matter what exact size these components are, because every resistance size usually comes in all these different components. For example, you can have a 10K in 0201 or an 0402, 0603, 0805. It doesn't matter what size your resistor is. It matters more about how much power it could take. But we're not going to go too much into that right now. Essentially, we want to pick a resistor that is easy to solder. So if you look on the thing, the biggest one that kind of have right there is 1206, and you can look on the paper and see the physical size of a 1206 resistor. And so if you go ahead and you can right click this and do place. So I can go ahead and do that. And then now I'm going to place a resistor there and then do escape to get out of that. Or if you would rather just click it, bless you, and drag the resistor over, you can also do that. So you can right click and place the component, or you could just drag it in. But now you can see we have 3 components on our schematic. And the same goes for capacitors. So for ceramic capacitors, they're also in the same exact sizing. So for example, if you wanted to add a 1206 capacitor, you can move over here and you can see it's a different symbol, and it would be that specific size. If you're curious on kind of sizing and things like that, you can double click this and it should open up the properties tab. The properties will have a lot of information on the part and actually kind of show you what the 2D and 3D models are. So if you right click that, it should open the properties tab, or double click it, sorry. You can also go over here and click properties over on the panels and just click any component. Oops, where'd it go? There it is. And then you should be able to see it there as well. And then later on, we can just change this. So for example, if we have a 10K ohm resistor, we could just do that. And it's really small here, but you can see here now, it says it's a 10K ohm resistor. And again, the size of the resistor doesn't matter in terms of ohms. Only the physical size of it matters because it needs to be put on a specific place on the PCB for a specific size. And the guide that I gave you guys is a 1-to-1 scale, and it's really useful to have something like this around so you could know how big or how small things actually are, because you can kind of get lost in making a bunch of really small stuff. So once the next thing I want to show you is another way to choose components. So it's something called the manufacturer part search. The components panel that I showed you right now, I mostly just use for resistors and capacitors and for passive components, you call them. I mostly just use that so I can have a uniform sizing and uniform look of all my resistors and capacitors. However, if I'm looking for a very specific component, I'll use the manufacturer part search. It's likely going to be on the right-hand side for you. I like to have mine in the middle, so I just click the top, and you could drag it over here and have it on the side like this, or you could just drag it in the middle. Personally, I like to have it in the middle, so I just dragged it out like that. However, so in this is going to search a bunch of different manufacturers, and you can find specific parts. So the workshop that we're going to be doing on Friday, we're going to be creating a breakout board for the MPU 6050. So if I want to find this specific part, the MPU 6050 is just like a gyroscope chip. So you can know what angle, you know what way the gravity is. So it measures gravity, angle, and acceleration. So this chip is a really powerful chip, and we're going to be making a breakout board for it, which essentially just puts this sensor on a board that we can communicate to with like an Arduino or something. So MPU 6050. So this is the chip that we're going to be using for our workshop tomorrow. And if I go ahead and click here in the manufacturer part search, it should load up, and then we're going to have a bunch of different things come up here. So I'm just going to drag this down so I can kind of see them. But here is a bunch of different parts. And this is kind of an example of a breakout board. You could see, that's not great. But you can kind of see that all the components are already on a PCB, and there's just some header pins to connect to something else. But the chip itself is this. It's a very small chip. It's hard to put in perspective how small it is, but it's, it's like that big or whatever. It's extremely small. And so we're going to be using this chip for our workshop tomorrow. So once you get here, there's a couple things that you want to look for. You might see the part here, but it might not actually have a footprint. Because remember, to create our schematic, we need a footprint so we can actually interact with that. So there's going to be two things you want to look for. First thing is just kind of this line right here. You can see it says manufacturer life cycle not recommended for a new design. This is just saying that this specific part isn't really made anymore. So it's just giving us a warning. If it's kind of orange, it means it's not made anymore. If it's green, it's still getting made. And if it's gray, it just doesn't know. And so you can kind of hover over that and it should tell you. The next thing is a lot more important. This is going to be has models. Models are what we need to actually create our PCB. This will have our schematic symbol, our 3D model, and our PCB footprint. So we can even see them down here. Oops. If I scroll this back up, you can see that this is our schematic footprint. So this is what it'll look like when we post it on our schematic. And right here is the 3D model. And if I click this, this is the PCB footprint. So let's say you find your part and you confirm that it does have models in the manufacturer part search. The next thing you could do is just place it the same way we placed our components. by right clicking it and clicking place. And it's going to take a second because it's downloading. And then we can go ahead and just place that whole component. Or if you want, you can also just click this and drag it over. It's the same. But now we have this component in our footprint or in our schematic. So I can go ahead and close this out. Lastly, there's one more thing I want to show you in terms of choosing your parts and components. There's something called Snap EDA. Snap EDA is a website that has a ton of models and schematic models and footprints on it that you could reference it if for whatever reason Altium doesn't have it in the components or the manufacturer part search. So I'm going to take a quick break here and walk around, see where everyone's at, make sure everyone's up to pace. And then I'll go ahead and show Snap EDA and how to interact with that. I barely bad. No, it's, do you know emulator? What we're gonna do for it? Oh, yeah.
Oh, I already got my license from you.
How many of them like?
What did you do? New project? You got that ones. I already did the new project, but I just added the library and so on Discord. Already, it's already.
You have it in there, huh?
So this happened.
I remember one didn't work, because they don't make connections to the other one. You have to make a house. It's either it's VMware and virtual box. Wait, great, so.
Which one's the?
You don't have a table. Schematic.
I'm opening up.
Yes. And then it's hot in here, right? Just.
Like major class.
No, why? You have to add it in.
This will be wide.
So he takes like that, like 9, maybe 6, 7 stuff.
Bro, this is not like.
So we're gonna start last two, I think you guys are doing that today. You guys.
We're frustrated.
We're gonna start the one. No, we're gonna start on two.
I mean, we're behind.
Just a lot. What's up?
No.
Talk about donuts. It used to be cool.
Everything is.
I mean. Yeah, mine's an old version, but it's so funny.
Everybody's.
Yeah, why?
It's still not showing.
Yeah.
It's a bit lost.
So I'm the treasurer of police, like.
Oh, okay.
Or George, they went to John.
You.
Yeah, are you, what year are you? Just remember that.
Oh, okay.
I mean, nice, to do all this stuff.
Yeah.
Are you part of the?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. So-
How's that?
How's that? Right now, I'm in.
Okay, thanks.
Bro.
Okay.
A lot.
Yeah.
There was a physics guy that wrote all the code. They were all like, yesterday, I heard that you went back in with the water rates. I'm not on the physics.
Yeah, I just, got it. So what we do, and first space. Fine.
By that, we have on this.
No, so this way.
So like. I think.
Yeah, for sure, man. That's cool, dude. I mean, so you feel pretty good, like.
So, Patrick, today. Yeah, so for now, we'll start talking about. So, I think we see here.
Yeah, I was in the library.
I don't know. Did you have that?
I had them at least start. I know like it was taking a while, so I just.
Got a budget for it? So, minimize the second. I have activated the included.
I mean,
Those two.
So send in your notes and then you send me. Oh, it's viewer. Oh, no, I know. So like, I think, someone just told me that, speak the, oh, no, but, I downloaded the, then I switched.
Very nice. I want to get into myself. That's like.
You know, this is my first year. I knew.
I'm dragging like this, like.
I just listen to the, does it.
So.
Project.
Computer science. What's the difference between software and like?
Or did it really know? Okay, so.
But I guess, you know,
Oh, so like this. One thing is mathematics is gonna have a simple deal. Very similar. Yeah, like the one here, so you're gonna write what you're doing.
So what I did was I.
Oh,
I put it in this. Yeah. They don't need. Are these the hour, like, the whole side? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, what was I thinking? Yeah, and you have to, like, you have to. What is this for? So.
Oh, yeah, and. Yeah, the first one, which is, so if you go into components, I think there's one in there too. It's,
Well, I went.
Taking like 200. I'm doing two all in that. Yeah, so like. That was in general, you know, make sure you don't leave tax. Right now. I don't know, I'm just saying that I'm just doing beach and I moved to it. Oh, yeah, yeah. No, like, okay, so you know, I don't. Yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's it. Schematic. On the. So that's. It's about relation. I got. So for example.
I don't know.
Adam's like.
oh, we have to, see it,
Yeah, I reached out.
yeah, I downloaded.
Okay, you have it down?
You want to do it?
It's not on the same property.
So we work so. I don't know why I feel good about it. Just open it.
Oh, where is it? You don't have like.
Just open it. It's release.
You don't want
Alright, now it's library.
What's my answer for that?
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah, it's not.
Also, yeah, but like.
They're like extracted, like. Go pedals.
We're proper.
And they click on manufacturer.
That's what I mean.
And then type in the same name and it's search that one.
I feel like some percent or maybe like.
That's. Oh, so it's.
And you don't know the furniture.
Oh,
Don't worry too much. So we'll get.
Direct.
Go back to your story to get it. Well,
In fact, you can select which. Pressure you want.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
But it has to have a like, you're like this.
That's-
One. So they just have this one.
So yeah. Basically according.
I just learned something like really amazing.
Like so easy.
That's what I said, bro.
Because take it, drag it here.
I say, drag it on here. I thought we were supposed to drag it on.
yeah, hey man, this is a really good.
Thank you.
Once it's downloaded, we're gonna be back to now.
A bit of power. Like,
That's.
take the same decision.
Fucking dumb. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah, so, boom, right? So you see, right? Now, if you try to run one now, that means it's just to watch these. Go down. Scroll down these. And you will know also to explain at that rate.
If you have a 3-day,
I should show you. So I'll show you how it was.
that's okay. That's like in the one I was building, that was actually like that.
So this is like, make sure like wave.
But then again, when you have access, you're gonna make it. So you gotta put your line.
That's next to me. You can have Richard, not there. You have to go ahead and mix the, right? And from application. Hand off that. Okay.
How do you hear this?
Yeah, I don't have any-
How do you think this?
Then I'm gonna be right on, yeah, down.
Confirmation that.
Yeah, that's a. Yes.
Yeah.
Just said it, well. Okay.
Bro, wanna hear all the fucking out. Where's he at?
So when you see there's a kind of thing that you come
Nice.
So we're doing
tiny component. It's like, oh, you're gonna say you can't find your matrix. If you're gonna be sorrowful. Exactly. So, yeah. Yeah.
Which means.
Yeah, that's fine. Yes, to you earlier.
You get pretty much. That's how.
Oh, yeah.
All right. I think I'm just gonna have to go through because I need to end it soon. All right.
Spent the entire time downloading, like not downloading, reinstalling also.
Yeah, that was like half the people.
Laptops too, well.
All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and go through the last part that I wanted to go through today, which is Snap EDA. So if you're still a little bit behind, we have the video, and I'm also gonna post a video to the Discord that I really recommend by Phil's Lab. It's a really good video. If you weren't able to follow along in person today, that I would just go to that video, watch it, and you'll be more than prepared for Friday when we actually start making our own PCB. However, the last step, so I showed you how to get components out of the components tab, and then we also have the manufacturer part search. The last thing that I'm going to show you is Snap EDA. So Snap EDA is a, is it Easy EDA? Why is it not purple? That was Snap. Yeah, okay. Yeah, this is it. Anyways, so this will have free symbols, footprints, and 3D models for millions of electronic components. Pretty much just that. If you can't not find a component in the components tab or the manufacturer part search, Snap EDA is my kind of second to last thing I do. So for example, if I'm gonna look up that same part, the MPU 6050. Right here, you can see that there's a bunch of different parts right here. And on the right-hand side, it'll show if it has the data sheet or as the symbol. So this is the schematic symbol. If it has the footprint, so this is the PCB footprint. And then lastly, the 3D model. So luckily, this one has all three because you can see it all there. This is a breakout board right here of the MPU 6050. We will be doing something pretty much exactly like this on Friday. However, you can see here, this has the 3D footprint, the 3D model and the PCB footprint. If you would want to put this on a PCB for some reason. And so, but again, we're going to be using this chip. So you can click here. And then you're likely gonna have to create an account if it's your first time. You can see down here it says download symbol and footprint. It will not let you do that without making an account. An account is free. They don't email you. They don't do anything else like that. But you will have to make an account if you do want to download parts off of Snap EDA. And so you can see here, this is the schematic footprint, and this is the PCB footprint. And so if we go ahead and download the schematic and thing, and we are using Altium. Okay, yeah, it's gonna make me sign in. I already have I'm like, yeah, right. I'm just gonna go ahead and sign in real quick just so you guys can see all right. Yeah. That's an Altium. And then it should give you a, oh shoot. Should give you a file. And right here. And so this is like, it has kind of the schematic footprint and everything in here. It's a compiled library. So what you can do is go back to Altium and right click here, and you can do add existing project similar that we kind of did before. And let me go to my downloads. It's here. Okay. Let me, yeah, sometimes there's a couple different ways to do it. Another one is the import wizard, as they call it. Personally, I like to just kind of drag it over here. It's kind of the easiest way to do it. There's also an import wizard that they have built into, yeah, so you can see if I import here. But you'll go through this whole process, whoops. And it'll get these, and then you can go ahead and import these files in. And then I believe now we should be able to see it in our components. So now if we go back to this and go to components, we should, I'm gonna go all, because it's under there. And then, so we should have been able to import this in. Let's see. That is not the right one. Okay. Can export it into this. I guess they already had one in the components. This is not the same one, I'm realizing. This is a different. What you can also do is export it in. So it's the same process here. Except you could do extract, extract the source libraries and create, and add this into the components panel as a separate library. Okay, I'm gonna try this one, install, and then it should be in, yeah, okay, here it is now. Now, this is the exact one. So if you do install, that's the easiest way to do it. I forgot. And so if you drag it over here, click install, you'll find it in your components library. And it just added a whole nother library right here. But this is the component that I moved in. And so you can see now that this is the same component as the one that we have on Snap EDA. And pretty much that's kind of as far as I wanted to go for today, is just teach you guys how to get your components and be able to have libraries and put them in. Next time, now that we have understand kind of what are footprints, what are components and everything else like that. Next time, we're going to be putting together this schematic right here. Next time, we're going to be putting together this schematic right here and then making a PCB for it. So yeah, if you have any more questions or if you're behind, I'm still gonna walk around and help you guys out. But other than that, that's pretty much as I want to go over today. I understand a lot of you barely had it downloaded or are still in the process of downloading it. And so this video will be posted online. And in addition to that, I'm also gonna post a video that's probably better than me explaining it. So you can reference that as well. But other than that, you guys are free to go. And see you next time. Yeah.